And now let's take a look at your Friday night college football action. Promises made, promises delivered. It is time to ask yourself a serious question. If you're betting with Joe Duffy's picks, are you even playing fair? Let's take a look at the Friday night college football card. I'm going to have a free pick on each one of these games. We'll start it out with Marshall and Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic currently a 5.5-point favorite with a total 59.5. This is after opening up at 5.5 and 65. Currently, 68% of the bets and 79% of the money is on FAU. 60% of the bets on the under, yet 82% of the money on the over. And according to some, that metric would say the sharp play is on the over. Marshall is 1-5 with the nation's 9th worst so-called sweat barometer or margin of cover, as I used to call it for years, at minus 8.8. Marshall's 5-1 straight up in the series, including 31-7 last year. No real edge either way, though the favorites revenging a blowout loss. In fact, a slight edge to Marshall when you have dogs of 3.5 or more that won by 24 or more at the previous meeting. Very slight edge, though, at 348, 309, and 11. Now, both teams like to use these tight ends extensively, which may be part of the reason why the total has dropped. A third of Marshall's roster is from Florida. Doc Holliday loves to recruit in Florida. He loves to play in Florida. He's actually 12-3 playing in Florida. Now, that would include bowl games or versus Florida teams. Marshall true freshman Brock Thompson did have a breakout performance against Old Dominion, 91 yards on 6 catches, so that might be a weapon that they haven't had for most of the year, but they now all of a sudden have. Their defense is improving. They had to make some big adjustments under defense coordinator Brad Lambert, and they really struggled under him, quite frankly. They really struggled, but they're playing much better. Now, when a team's defense is off of a contest in which they allowed 150 or more yards below their season average, the next game, that means this game, goes under at a rate of 444, 366, and 15. So obviously that would apply to the Marshall side, or the Marshall total, that would apply to Marshall. And that's going to be our free pick here. Our free pick is to go with the game under the 59.5, even though, as I said, it did open up much higher in some areas. Joe Duffy's picks, almost unfair. Great year, even better in the NFL, where I'm 48-28 going back to the preseason, but 18-7 in college football. We got a Friday night college football side, plus we've got a total. The over-under is a wise guy play, by the way, at offshoreinsiders.com. Promises to exceed it. Pittsburgh and Syracuse. Pittsburgh laying 3.5 on the road. Shop around for varied juice. You should get pretty low juice there. You shouldn't have to lay more than 105 if you're going with the road favorite. The total is 52. This opened up at 3.5, minus 102, and 53.5. 52% of the bets on Pittsburgh, 56% of the money on the Panthers. A little bit of surprise. Remember, the public does tend to love to bet road favorites, not as much as they do in the NFL, but you usually would expect a higher percentage on a road favorite. Syracuse, the over, 56% of bets and 64% of the money. Cuse is 3-3 straight up, but 2 of their wins were to Liberty and Holy Cross. They have been a cataclysmic bust, one of the biggest busts in the country so far. On the other hand, Pitt, their only losses were to Virginia and Penn State, 2 pretty good teams. 2 wins as an underdog, plus they were very competitive, losing at Penn State by only 7. So Pittsburgh's played better this year, even though Syracuse came in with higher expectations. Pitt with Maurice French and Taser Mack, the top wide receiver twosome in the nation, they combined for 91 catches. Pitt's secondary is their best under Narduzzi, so this is an improving Pitt team. Pitt redshirt safety Paris Ford, though, he's going to miss the first half with a suspension from a couple weeks ago. Pitt off a bye. Pitt's run defense, and by the way, he's pretty good. He's got an upside. Very good player, but he's only going to be out for the first half. Pitt's run defense, a sensational, allowing 2.9 yards per rush versus opponents normally getting 4. And their defense is allowing only 4.3 yards per play to teams normally getting 5.5. We're going to go with the under 52. Ohio State and Northwestern. Please note, premium side on this one at offshoreinsiders.com from the greatest handicapper ever, Joe Duffy's picks. Ohio State, 5-1 this year against the spread, covering by an average of covering by an average of 18 points per game. That is second best in the country, just behind fellow Big Ten team in Wisconsin. Northwestern's gone under 4-1 by an average of minus 11.4 points per game. Fifth best under team in the nation. Road favorites of 26 or more with a total of 52 or less are actually 18-8. And that's on Ohio State. I point that out because we do have a couple systems that are intuitive. Most of our best systems in all the sports are counterintuitive. College football, we have a couple that might be a little bit more intuitive. When you have big home favorites and a low total, usually the underdog's good. When you have big favorites and a high total, and the home team is a big favorite, then the favorites are usually pretty good. But this is just the opposite. A big favorite, despite a game that's expected to be low scoring, if the road team is favored, is pretty good. Northwestern holds opposing offenses to 0.7 yards per rush, 1.6 yards per pass below their normal average. Ohio State holds teams to 1.3 yards per rush, 2.3 yards per pass, and 1.7 yards below their normal average. Northwestern's offense gets 4.3 passing yards per attempt to teams normally allowing 6.5, and 3.9 yards per play to teams normally getting 5.2. So Northwestern, great defense, terrible offense. Ohio State averages 10.8 yards per point, which is fourth best in the nation. Now, in yards per point, the lower number, the better on offense. On defense, the higher the number is, the better. But Ohio State, they're very efficient with the ball, is what that stat says. Anyway, with two good defenses and only one good offense, I'll take the under 49.5. Two excellent defenses, in fact. UNLV and Fresno State, the total is a premium play at offshoreinsiders.com. UNLV did win 34-10 at last week as a 16-point underdog. That was following 4 straight losses of 16 or more. So talk about a box of chocolates. Dogs off an underdog win of 7.5 or more are a pretty impressive 54-42. That would benefit UNLV. Fresno State, for those of you who like to bet halftime lines and quarter line, Fresno State hasn't been very good in the second half, especially in the third quarter. 1 touchdown in 5 third quarters this year. UNLV, their starting quarterback, Armani Rogers, is cleared, but he will not start. But that might be a good thing for UNLV. He only has 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Kenyon Oblad is going to get the start. He's thrown for 739 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So Armani Rogers was the starter when he was hurt, but he doesn't appear to be. He appears like he's the second best quarterback anyway, and that's why he's been cleared, but he'll be available to come off of the bench. So, that might be pretty important, especially when you're talking about a big underdog. UNLV's sophomore running back, Chad Mager, averages 5 yards per carry after missing the first 4 games, so they do have a weapon they haven't had most of the year. This opened at 13.5. Now it's up to 16. I think UNLV is a little bit better because their quarterback is better, and then they have a running back that they didn't have for most of the year. This line is just over-adjusted. UNLV plus the 16 is your free winner. So again, you missed any of the free winners, make sure you listen to this entire report. And remember, you want free picks every day? I'll give them to you, folks. You make the call. It's a win-win for everybody. You want to get paid on time. MyBookie.ag, they will pay you on time each and every solitary time. Fastest payouts in the industry, easy deposits. And if you use the promo code Duffy when you sign up, DUFFY, or if you go to offshoreinsiders.com, click on the link directly. That's your way of saying, please sponsor more of this free information. Visit offshoreinsiders.com for the best picks on earth.